Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Clay, and I am the Bucks believer. When it comes to Antetokounmpos who play for the Milwaukee Bucks, Thanasis is certainly the lesser known of the two. However, he had a very solid season in his own right this past year, as he earned himself a situational spot in the Bucks rotation. He is far more than just the older brother of Giannis, and in today's video, I'm going to be breaking down his strengths and weaknesses before outlining what comes next. The first and most significant of Thanasis' strengths is definitely his energy, both as a player and as a teammate. When Thanasis is on the court, he's always playing 100%, picking up opposing players full court and putting as much pressure on them as he can on the defensive end. On offense, he also plays with a ton of energy, crashing the offensive glass with reckless abandon and making sure that if there's an open shot there, he's definitely going to take it, and he's going to try to posterize anyone that he possibly can, even if it often ends in disaster. In addition to his energetic play on the court, Thanasis is also incredible off the court. Every single NBA team needs a bench cheerleader, and Thanasis might be the best guy at that role in the entire NBA. He's perfect functioning as a hype man for the entire Bucks team, especially his brother Giannis. Whenever the Greek Freak makes a crazy play for the Bucks, you can always count on there being a shot of Thanasis going crazy on the bench, flexing his muscles and letting out a primal scream. In addition to his energetic play, Thanasis also is genuinely a pretty solid defensive player. This past season, he posted impressive rates of 1.9 steal rate and 1.6% block rate. Those are both well above average, especially when you consider the minimal role that Thanasis plays. So it's evident that he's a definite plus on that end of the court, and that was certainly true in the eyes of Milwaukee coach Mike Budenholzer, who would frequently sub Thanasis in at the end of quarters and halves in order to get him on the court to get a defensive stop. While Thanasis' strengths make him one of the most fun Milwaukee Bucks to watch and a personal favorite of mine, his game certainly is also loaded with weaknesses. The first of these is his ball handling skills. Thanasis has one of the most wild handles I've ever seen, as he has an extremely high dribble and he's not afraid to try to cross up players, leading to him having an extremely high turnover rate. Thanasis' turnover rate this past year was 21.3%, which is matched only by players that are constantly handling the ball in a heliocentric offensive system that have usage rates of upwards of 40%. By comparison, Thanasis' usage rate is a minuscule 15.3%. So despite him barely having to handle the ball, he still turns it over constantly because he's just so wild with taking care of it. In addition to his poor handle, Thanasis' offensive game is also extremely limited by his shooting. He shot just 24.1% from three this past season and 51% from the free throw line. If you thought that Giannis was a poor shooter, then you've clearly never watched Thanasis, as the older Antetokounmpo struggles even more with his jump shot than the Greek Freak does. In addition to the poor offensive skills, Thanasis also makes some mistakes on defense. He is frequently over-aggressive and ends up committing some pretty silly fouls. This past season, he averaged 4.8 fouls per 36 minutes, which is one of the higher marks for any non-center rotation player in the league this past season. So Thanasis is so fun to watch because of his constant energy, but that kind of energy also has its drawbacks that are pretty obvious when you watch Thanasis play. Prior to this season, I think that most Bucks fans, myself included, thought that Thanasis was only on the Bucks roster because he was Giannis' older brother. However, that changed this year as Thanasty carved out a place for himself at the back end of the Bucks rotation. In some games where Coach Mike Budenholzer rested his starters, Thanasis had a chance to be even more than that, including one game against the New York Knicks where he exploded for 23 points. In general, I think that it's very impressive that Thanasis was able to find a place for himself in an NBA rotation despite his blatant weaknesses. I never fathomed that this type of positive result for Thanasis' career was a possibility, and because of this expectation-defying emergence as a genuine NBA rotation piece, I'm going to give Thanasis a B- for this past season. The older Antetokounmpo's 2-year minimum deal expired at the conclusion of last season. He will now enter restricted free agency, assuming that the Bucks extend his $2.1 million qualifying offer to him. Thanasis could probably get a minimum contract or maybe even the biannual exception from a different team. However, he is beloved in Milwaukee, and he also has the opportunity to play with his younger brother Giannis with the Bucks. For those reasons, I think that there is a very strong chance that Thanasis will come back to Milwaukee next season, and that probably will come when he signs his qualifying offer. Thank you all for watching today's video. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, especially if you are a fellow Bucks believer. This is the place for you. Also, let me know in the comment section down below what your favorite Thanasis moment from this past season was. For me, it has to be his 23-point performance against the Knicks. I think that I've covered everything that I wanted to cover, so that's going to be it for me. Ladies and gentlemen, I will see you all again very soon.